And we're back. Again, very loud video. I don't know why it's so loud, but it's probably there to wake you up.
It does.
It does. So we have a fun little thing to talk about today. First of all, we have Abhijit here to talk to us about something AWS chatbot. Before we get into the technology, let's talk about the people. Abhijit, tell us who you are, what do you do, where do you join us from, and well, why should we care?
Sure. So my name is Abhijit. I'm a principal product manager for AWS Chatbot Service, and I'm really passionate about helping AWS customers interact and discover services using conversational and assistive interfaces. So I'm calling from my nice, comfortable hotel room in Las Vegas. I'm not at the booth yet. So
Okay.
So super excited to talk about our launch here.
Excellent. Thank you, Abhijit. So before we get into it, first of all, let's talk about AWS Chatbot is before we talk about this new feature.
Sure. So AWS Chatbot is a service that helps DevOps and engineering teams run chat ops for AWS in Slack and Chime.
Okay.
It helps customers, run DevOps task natively in these chat collaboration platforms. They can collaborate. They can stay updated on various different events. At the same time, they can respond faster to operational events, CI/CD workflows, and other alerts from AWS applications.
Okay.
Yeah, chat ops is exactly the keyword here, right?
So you know how you are like, your Slack messages when people ping you in the middle of the night for something. Imagine having a bot doing that if something goes
all
wrong.
The time.
Wonderful. But in all seriousness, it is very important to get those informations, get that notification on time in the right channel, and AWS Chatbot helps you do that through channels such as Chime. Slack.
We do that a lot. Especially when it comes to security things. When somebody logs into an account that at a time that would sound unusual to get a chat message, something like that. So that's something where it's often being used for notification. But now, in addition to notification, we have more features. Is that right?
So yeah, tell us what this is. What is this wonderful thing we're launching?
Fantastic. So before today's announcement, customers could primarily receive notifications from various different AWS services that you mentioned, and you can also run diagnostics and interact with AWS resources using CLI commands. However, if you had to actually make changes to resolve issues, fix things, you have to switch context to console or CLI to other different tools. So what that makes happen is, it creates a communication overhead, takes longer time for complete the task because you have to continuously post updates in Slack channels, switch context, so on and so forth. So what we're launching today is new capability in AWS Chatbot that will natively allow you to configure AWS resources right from your Slack channels. And we do that also with the security conscious focus here, because a lot of our customers have told us that they really want to use IAM-based permissions and access control so that they can be compliant with the compliance and security policies.
So in essence, you can just now, instead of just receiving notifications, have your chatbot yell at you. You can tell something to your chatbot, hey, please execute this, or please do that, right?
Without the please aspect of it.
Okay, well, it's always nice to ask it. just be nice to your chatbots, please. Awesome,
so it's actual. I can configure my instances. I can create a new S3 bucket, do things like that. And as you said, if I understand correctly, we're still using the same IAM mechanism to have a fine-grained access control, so that not everybody can just do everything in the account. But you have a restricted set of permissions that then can be so that you can issue commands through the chatbot, right?
Right, that's correct. So what security administrators have told us that they wanted to have the permissions that users have in other tools to have those available also in Slack channels. On top of that, they want to be able to put restrictions that, irrespective of who you are, certain actions cannot be allowed. So we have created guardrail policies that can be attached to channel configurations that define what can be done in a given channel.
Okay. So this means basically that the chatbot will look at who is sending its message, or do I get this wrong? So chatbot looks at the person telling it, please, can you do this? And then based off that person, it will do specific things. It will have permissions for specific things, or does a chatbot have just permissions per se?
Channel permissions.
Channel
That's
permissions. Okay. Okay.
Got it. So prior to this announcement, there were only channel permissions. So there was one IAM role that was shared among all channel users. So that created some hassles with some of the security conscious teams because they wanted to know exactly who did what. At the same time, they wanted to make sure that there are no permission escalations in the Slack channels. But with this release, each channel member can be configured to select their own IAM roles. So know exactly what role is being used by which user. At the same time, the channel guardrails policies put controls around what is allowed, what is not allowed, irrespective of what your role is allowed to do so.
That's wonderful.
That's really nice. But I wonder, what does it look like? What do I actually type as a user? Yeah. Do we have a chance to see it in action?
Absolutely.
So let me bring up Abhijit's screen right here. All right. So, okay, we see your screen. Can you just make it a bit bigger, just slightly? Command plus thing.
Is it better?
Yeah.
It's better. Yeah.
It's better now.
Okay. All right. So the demo I'm going to show you as 3 parts. So first thing, you're going to look at the management console for AWS Chatbot, where I'm going to show some of the new permission settings. Then we're going to go to Slack, where I will show you how users actually select and use their IAM roles. And lastly, we're going to run some commands that are what we call mutative, or things that can actually configure your AWS resources. So with that, when you go to the splash page, you will see this landing page which talks about the features and benefits, the links to the documentation, and so forth. On the right-hand top side, if you want to create a new configuration, this is where you select the target platform and the workspace and configure your channel configuration.
Okay.
And if you already have your configurations created, this is where you see on the left now.
Okay.
So I'm going to create, I'm going to select one of my existing configurations here. And it shows me details about various logging levels, the channel in which I'm configured for. And under the permission section is where we are adding new features here. So to run commands in Slack, you need an IAM role. So as we just discussed previously, we only allowed a channel level IAM role where all the channel users will share IAM role.
So you had to so you basically had to have your permission boundaries, different permission boundaries using different channels, for instance. So to have, like, admins would have to be in a different channel than someone who just should be able to read data.
So hold on. So in the past, in the past, there was only one IAM role that was shared by all users.
Oh, okay.
And that role defined what you can do, cannot do. So for example, this role defined what actions can I take. But if you and I are on the same channel, we will have the same permissions, right? Yeah. And that was there's a problem with more security conscious customers.
Exactly. You don't want to be you don't want to have a lot of permissions, and as Abhijit said, permission escalation from a channel where somebody can just join a channel and just say, hey, do that, and that person does not have those permissions, right? That was how it used to be in the past.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and so we need one thing, just real quick. One thing that we really encourage customers to do is really apply the principle of least privilege, to not give everyone the same permissions, but really make sure that everybody has the permissions that they need to do their actual job, and not more.
That's correct. And so this might have been okay for configurations where, let's just say, you are just a notifications only channel, right? So that's acceptable because there is not much things you can do if the roles did not allow it. But if you want to configure things so that has way more privileges, that's when customers would be using a user role based permissions. And once you select these options, it requires all channel members to use the IAM role to run any command from the Slack channel. However, you don't see any interface here to actually set the IAM roles, because the users do that themselves, and I'm going to show that to you in a minute.
Okay.
But I do want to highlight that, okay, we added this guardrail. So irrespective of what type of a role you select, the service administrator can set a guardrail policies, and the guardrail policies is applied at runtime to all the roles, individual user roles or channel IAM roles, and defines what you can or cannot do in those channels. And lastly, as a reminder, if you are receiving notifications, use configure your chatbot topic. This is a topic to which all AWS services that emit the configured will send notifications to, and AWS chatbot will take those notifications and route it to the Slack and Chime channels.
Indeed, yeah.
So I'm going to set this. I'm going to set this setting here.
Okay.
And we're going to switch to the Slack here. Okay. So is this too small for you?
Yeah. Can you zoom in a
bit?
We need to see that.
Okay. Just maybe one or two not. Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. So I may have to scroll up and down with this large font.
Yeah, it's better. I think we can read now.
So this is my demo channel where I'm also use it for when I moonlight as a banana vendor seller. So I have a CloudWatch alarm that has kicked off. I can see details here. There is something gone wrong with my Lambda function, and I can see the metric details. Now, as a part of the due diligence, let's say I have to run commands like CloudWatch describe alarms.
Oh, so you're running CLI commands right now, right?
Right now, I'm running CLI commands.
It looks like one, yes.
Yeah. All you have to do is just type add AWS and type CLI command. And I'm going to be showing you in a minute that you don't necessarily have to have exact CLI command also. Okay. So if I run this now, well, this is a CLI command, and it's telling me that, well, guess what? You need to have an IAM role to run this command.
Okay.
Right? So I'm going to get started to process of mapping a role, and it shows me what we call ephemeral message, or a private message rather. And then it gives me a unique link to which I click on it, and it takes me to the console where I'm already logged in as a IAM user. And now I can select a role.
Okay.
And this is the role that will be used to run commands from a Slack channel.
Okay.
Okay. And once I say click, it's going to do an auth with Slack to ensure that I have the right, it can extract the Slack identity here.
Yeah. And is this now just going to gives this specific role to your user, to the user Googly here, or is it for the entire channel?
That's a great question. So as you can see here, once the screen refreshes here, it has mapped my Slack identity, the Googly Slack identity, with this user role.
That's amazing. I think that's great because, I've spoken to folks like, oh, we want a chat ops, but we need channel for a specific, permission sets. So this is just wonderful.
Yeah. And there is no SSO. There is no SSO. There is no federated login. None of that. All we're done is
people don't even map it. People don't even need an AWS account to be able to use that?
Well, they do, right?
They do, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to log onto the console.
Okay, exactly. All right.
So they have to, exactly.
They have to have an AWS account. One question that occurs to me is there a way to basically pre-populate the different roles for different users? So that users not choose themselves, but you have like an admin, for instance, who makes sure that everybody has their roles, their respective roles?
Sure. So the challenge with security, the administrators, service administrators is there is no easy way to map a Slack user identity with the IAM user identity. So there's a lot of overhead is involved in mapping these things. Okay. However, we do provide capability where somebody can unmap a role. So if for some reason you want to disallow somebody from doing something, you can disconnect that role from this console here.
But however, you have the guardrails, basically the guardrail policy where you say, all right, the maximum boundaries that users can have in terms of permissions are defined. So nobody can give themselves permissions to, I don't know, to start up a fleet of Bitcoin miners in region, for instance.
All right. And so now when I run the retry the command, the command runs, I can see all the metrics that we're supposed to. So let's see. And by the way, at any point in time, if you want to change roles, anybody can type this command and they can do that right from natively from Slack channel. Now let's see some fun things that you can do with this capability. Now again, everything is governed by what access you have and what the guardrail policies are defined to allow permissive permissions. So let's say we know that my banana shop is having issues, and it's partly because of some Lambda concurrency issues. So I can write any CLI command to change Lambda concurrency. But sometimes you do not know exactly what the command is. So let's say I don't know, and I said, I'm just typing some English words in natural language concurrency.
I love this. As a person who forgets CLI commands, I love this.
Function name. So I'm purposefully making some errors here. Banana. This is my.
Okay, interesting. So it will interpret these commands into actual CLI commands.
I hope it asks first.
So glad that you asked. So what it does is it actually maps the intent, service name, operation, and parameters. It extract information and asks you recommendations. Okay,
that's amazing.
I captured this. Okay, and mind you, these are not the specific words. I just typed things that made intuitive sense to me, and basically it extracted this information, and I ran I ran this command, and then done. Conclusion sets of 10.
Amazing.
That's nice. That's really nice.
We have a question from Code Surgeon here on Twitch. They ask, can I trigger a Lambda function via AWS chatbot? My assumption would be yes, but yeah, you can, right? So awesome. Oh, SSM automation executions. That's a wonderful thing, right?
That's
so
one for you.
If you want to run your playbooks, your automation documents, you can do it through the chatbot.
Exactly. And again, just like that, you don't need to know exact command. You run automation execution, and it actually shows you the list of documents available also.
Okay.
So let's say if you want to start an EC2 instance, there is a function for that, and it says, well, it needs some input parameters.
Yeah.
And I'm going to quickly look up my cheat sheet here of the instance IDs. and basically I can type up parameters, and we are done. Basically, it's going to start the process of actually running the workflow SSM automation document, and then run through the steps.
Awesome. Well,
That's
so
really nice.
We have another comment here from Susho on asking language capabilities. Now, Susho, my guess is that you were asking about like English language. I guess it currently supports English as a natural language processing, but in general, it uses database CLI to just run stuff, right? Is that correct, Abhijit?
That's correct. So the natural language capabilities are very much geared towards how you would type a CLI command, and so it is not localized to other languages as such.
Exactly. Now, I have a
before you go ahead, just one quick. I just saw in the chat there. So it really sent a message for every state change. So we can see it sent a message when it was stopping.
Yeah.
Then it sent stopped. Now it's got pending. So it really polls the status of the resource as well, and shows me what happens with the resource. And here we go. Now status success.
Yeah.
We're done. Cool.
Wonderful.
Well, now, it's not actually pulling it. Actually, I have configured those notifications to be received in the channel.
Okay.
So based on my configuration and receiving messages.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Abhijit, thank you very much. I have a final question. Just for me, can chatbot get like custom commands, like customs? I can say, "Hey, chatbot, new cust." Will it like? Can I do it like create custom commands, or is it solely CLI in this case?
So this is something that we're looking into at this point in time. Where customers are asked for to create those custom tasks. But today, what you can do is use Slack's shortcuts. There are the shortcuts that you can create to run those commands.
Okay, that's wonderful. Excellent. So if you're interested in doing more granular IAM permissions with AWS chatbot, make sure to check this out. Is it publicly available now, or is it just a preview?
It is available.
It is available right now.
It is available in the preview.
Okay, good. It's available in the preview, so make sure to go and check that out.
Everybody can check it. What does it cost? What's the price?
It is free. It is the service is free. You only pay for the underlying services like CloudWatch alarms and SMS routings.
Okay,
excellent.